have the balls to grill me. You don't have balls. You have balls, Where's my daddy? Where's my daddy?
That was a good impression of the kid.
That's enough intro to do us a lifetime.
Oh, flip. Oh no.
You don't have the balls to grill me.
Speak. Hello. Very good.
Hello everyone.
Ta! Huzzah!
Flapjacks. Flapjacks. Flapjacks.
I do.
So sometimes I succumb to flapjacks.
Okay.
Hello Josh, welcome to ATT. You're very welcome here. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Right.
This is my first time.
Your first time on ATT. Don't worry, don't be nervous.
You'll take me through it.
Yeah, I will. So
this is the first of a series I want to do about life of Moses. I'm going to be using the Bible, and I'm going to be using the book by Gregory of Nyssa, The Life of Moses. So I think we should start off reading the Bible.
yay! Yes, it's a good start.
Okay, so the very start here, Exodus 1 verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and he said to his people, "Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply, and if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them, and to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad. And the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. So they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves, and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick, and all kinds of work in the field. And all the work they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah, and the other Puah. That's what, look at that. Puah.
Huh?
There we go.
It's Puah.
Alright. When you serve as midwife to the other Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if she shall live. No, I skipped the line. If it is a son, you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, and let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this, and let the male children live?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." So God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, "Every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live." Okay, so I've prepared quite a few things to speak about, so I'll get into Moses was born at a time of a tyrannical rule, and what that would mean from episodes prior would be not he wasn't sacrificing himself for his people, but instead he was devouring them by force. Moses represents the masculine that has the ability to threaten the tyrant by his very birth. This distinctly masculine attribute is not a bad thing. It is like a fire that burns within. He has the ability to forget fear, conquer challenges, and put the stability of the powers that be into question. Although not bad in itself, this can obviously be a vice, if not channeled through wisdom. For example, pointless rioting and revolution, with no good thought to what could have been done better, no responsibility taken in the situation. So I'll read a wee paragraph from this book by St. Gregory of Nyssa. When we lay bare the hidden meaning of the history, Scripture is seen to us that the birth which distresses the tyrant is the beginning of a virtuous life. I am speaking of that kind of birth in which free will serves as the midwife, delivering the child amid great pain. For no one causes grief to his antagonist unless he exhibits in himself those marks which give proof of his victory over the other. Is there anything you want to say before I continue on?
No, you're on a roll. No.
Okay. I'm gonna quote a video of a pastor called Doug Wilson, and do you know him?
Yeah.
He has a show, and the interviewer guy has questions from the viewers. So this is what the questioner said from a viewer. In a talk, it was described that we, the church, have a hard time spotting the actual traits of masculinity in young boys. The example was a bunch of boys at a future men's camp, and when it came time to shoot the bow and arrow, there were several polite young men requesting when they might shoot, and a boy who gets kicked out of the camp for shooting too soon. The point being that we naturally incline ourselves to those eager to follow along, rather than realize that the kid in trouble is probably the candidate for a future man. I was one of the polite boys. I feel the masculinity I was taught was anemic, and I'm ready to change. I'm struggling to see how I might do this without just being a jerk and asking for forgiveness after each attempt. What are the practical ways I can move towards a godly masculinity? And Doug Wilson says this: genuine piety in girls, that is godliness, looks very different to genuine piety in boys. Piety in girls is institution friendly. For example, if you have a bunch of godly girls, they aren't going to be making life hell for the principal or supervisors or the teachers. They're going to be leaving encouraging notes and whatnot on each other's lockers. They're going to be picking up after themselves. They may say, "How can I pray for you?" And you looked a little down this morning. That is true godliness, but it is the kind of godliness an institution can see, recognize, and appreciate. But if a teacher is walking down the hallway and walks by one boy knocking his friend into the locker saying, "You fat head," and he goes on, it would never occur to him to perhaps follow up on that to see if he might be a candidate for a faculty accommodation. But what that guy was doing, he found out that his friend had asked a non-Christian girl out the previous night, so he was exhorting his brother. If a young boy is masculine in the right ways, it doesn't look institution friendly. So consequently, many pastors, camps, schools overlook the potential of a kid who is a natural leader and has a lot of horsepower, and we do our best to squeeze him out of the church. What do you think of that?
That was very interesting. Certainly in my experiences, and just obviously in modern society, this whole, even the saying the word masculinity, it's seen as something like seen as shied away from, seen as something that is negative. It's got some negative connotations. You know, you've got people that just go, "Oop, there's too much masculinity in this room," or toxic masculinity, or anything like that. But I knew you can see that in churches these days. You can see that in a way of, you know, just sort of keeping everyone in line, and just sort of, and I suppose that's hard. Like, I suppose that's hard for pastors to, you know, keep, you know, because they speak one message for everyone, and so people then apply it to their lives. But then when it gets down to sort of a one-to-one basis, or through Sabbath school, or through just different sort of conversations, I do think the whole idea of being a boy or whatever, being a man, I should say, is overlooked. You know, sort of like, sit down, be quiet, be a good little boy, instead of, you know, teaching guys to nail their colours to the mast, I guess. And
yeah, even just let's just speak in very general, non-specificness, which I would not encourage, but let's just do it for the sake of analysis. What's the very first thing? I'm doing this because what's the first thing that pops in your head? Okay, what's the first thing that pops in your head when you think of the stereotypical Jehovah's Witness who comes well dressed and knocking on your door? Two guys.
What do you mean? What's the first thing that comes to my head?
I just think, they're just like, oh, they're just good little boys. They're
yeah, schoolboys.
Yeah, but they don't demand authority, respect.
Yeah,
I definitely don't think of that as the first thing. Oh, they come to my door demanding me respect them.
Yeah, listen to them.
I would my first. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And I believe, you know, that's the kind of people the church is like holding the hands of, I think. Yeah. That's where they're directing them.
And you can compare that to someone who I think was who showed incredible bravery and masculinity, was Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he had nothing to hold him back. He said what he needed to say in front of thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's masculine, in my opinion. That's authoritarian, and, you know, not authoritarian in, like, obviously the bad way, but, you know, demanding authority, not because he wants it, because he can just get it. It's not like you can tell a person is powerful. Like, a person isn't powerful when they say, "Give me authority." You know, it's when they don't need to say that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a line in Game of Thrones. Tyrion Lannister, not Tyrion. Tywell Lannister is like, any man who says "I am the king" is no true king.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that then sort of aspect of, you know, what is it that you can do to be the king, without telling everyone, "Oh, I'm the king." You know.
I've got to give an example. For example, boys like to colour outside the lines, not necessarily by a lack of skill, but by choice.
Yeah.
It's pure being despicable.
We just hate colouring in.
But by choice. This is an example of a miniature revolution.
Yeah.
So it is. And another example. This is also why I assume boys' handwriting is so much worse than women's.
I was literally just thinking about that. My handwriting, right, is appalling.
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely
it's
appalling.
absurd.
It is so bad, right? And I have been drilled. I was kept in after schools just to get my handwriting fixed, just to, over and over and over again. But I just couldn't.
Same with spelling.
Yeah,
I just didn't care.
You're like, right.
It's like, I know what it's supposed to say, and you do because you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't care.
I'm dyslexic. I never care. I'm never gonna get it, man.
No, it's labeled as dyslexia. Oh no.
It's my manliness. Sorry.
Well, that's alright. So, like, the thing is, I know full well how to write neat and tidy.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it. I just feel a great resistance in my very being to do so without a special occasion. What does that say?
There's just no need. Like the only reason I would even attempt to write neatly, as if I'm like obviously writing a card to my girlfriend's parents. Or to her anyway,
like when I write something, I fully expect them not to read any, like not be able to read a single word of that. I fully expect that.
Man, we were wasted in school. Like,
say again.
We were wasted in school. We should have definitely had a chance.
That's the level. I will get on to that.
Oh, so good.
What's this? I wrote Josh's story. What is this? Ah, yes. Okay, I'll give a story.
What's this story? Alright, I'm gonna tell a story.
When was the last time there was this messy, boisterous masculinity in your church? In my case, it was a rare, next to non-existent experience.
And then when it was prevalent, it was shunned.
I'll read on, but
Yeah.
I do have one in mind. God bless the person who brought forth the recent idea. I say recent. Idea of the men's night in church, but it was short-lived, to say the least. So I guess recent in terms of when church was still church.
Yeah,
It was recent.
before C19.
For I can say without hesitation that he knows what the void needs to be filled with. Anyhow, at one men's night, we, the men, were playing football before everyone showed up. I was playing an intense game of footy with men from my church. That's the height of which we engaged by. Where the height of which we engaged by was an occasional greeting, shallow to say the least. Yet, in that one night, I ended up wrestling with one of the older men, and compared to me, I guess, for the ball, eventually sending him to the ground. And in that game of football, we bonded more than all the years I ever knew him. This is what I'm talking about. Like, that should not be profound.
Yeah, but it is. Of all the years that you've had, it was just over a game of football that allowed such bonding to happen. I mean, I can give you an example. In my church, right? There's my older church. There's loads of guys my age there, and we're all just being tubes. Like, we're just all hanging out outside and stuff. And we would usually like take the bins out for the church and everything like that, and just hang around the back of the church like that and stuff. And well, we got to a point where we all went upstairs, right? And me and my friend, we just jumped onto a table, you know, because we knew where to sit. And then, and then basically,
Well, imagine you literally just standing on the table, you just jumped up.
Yeah, and then
You just scooted onto the
and
table.
then like it was bouncy, so we were like, "Yo, this is kind of funny." And then we jumped on it again, and it broke in half. It just broke, and we were like, "Ah, no!" And we all just had a big giggle, but realized, flip, nah, it's not good. And then some of us just bolted for the door and sprinted away. Some of us tried to fix it. I tried to fix it, like, we were like, crap. Anyway, so then when elders came up, and like how they handled it was completely appalling, right? So this is how they handled it. I had to go home, right? It was home time. My family were on the car. I had to go home, right? This guy, right, held me back, and I was like, and he was an elder, right? So I should have given him some sort of respect. But through the course of my years in this church, there was no respect needed to give, because I just felt like they didn't deserve any respect that I had, because as a fellow man or whatever. Anyway, and so he held me back and he was like, "I need you to give me a list of everybody in that room." And I went, "No." I went, "No." I'm not a tight lad. I don't appreciate that.
Just a little revolution.
Yeah. And then he went, "No, I'm not letting you go." I went, "What? Why can you not let me go? I have to go home." And he went, "Give me every boy in that room." And I went, "Why boy? What were the girls?" And I don't think they were involved. And I went, "Well, yeah, you'd be right, but I'm just saying." Anyway, so I had to, and he wouldn't let me go, like, so I gave him a list of all my friends, really, right? And then I just said, right, it was only me and my best friend on the table, because it was me and him that broke the table. And I was like, "Look, you don't need to give a list. It was only me and this other guy." And he went, "Right, you can go home now." And I went, "Right, thank you, finally." Anyway, and then next week, right, literally in the announcements, right, the same guy comes up in front of the entire congregation and goes, we're going to not let children upstairs anymore because the table was broken, and we have asked the families to donate 90 quid each so that table could be repaired. Mate, it's a flipping, that table, 90 quid each. To get a new table, it'll cost about, I don't know, 20 quid. So me and my friend were like flabbergasted. We were like, nah, no way. So our parents, I remember hearing that. My mom and dad just looked at me like, and I went, how? But like, it was this idea of like, there's no forgiveness. There was no understanding. There was nothing. It was like, you're an absolute troublemaker, and if you don't pay this 90 quid, you may as well not come back. Like, that's not a church. That's like a institution. That's a workplace. That's a workplace environment. You break workplace environment stuff, you pay for it. And of course, like, obviously I was like, I mean, it's right to obviously mend your mistakes. Like, I'm not saying that that's not what I wanted to do. I did want to right my wrongs. But the way it was going about was like, we're not going to forgive you until you give us something back. Or something like that. We're not gonna show you any, even afterwards, like, literally, right? I wasn't allowed to go near any tables. Like, I remember like placing some cups down on the table, and the same guy, right? The same flipping guy. Oh, he's so annoying. He came out and was like, get away from that table, Ben. I was like, are you serious, right? I make a mistake, right? You then hold me back to try and get us to the room. I am on a flipping ramp because there is no sense of understanding until, you know, you have to make sure that you end up on somebody else's level like that. I don't know, man. It's just handled really poorly, in my opinion. But yeah, how does this link into masculinity and stuff? There's a pride that we all have as men, church-going men. There's a sort of respect that we all want to attain. And me being at the age I was, that respect was just developing. And there's nothing that kills, like, when you're trying to get to that respect, so let's say they're trying to climb that mountain of respectability, the one thing, the avalanche that flipping wipes you off the face of the mountain is other guys telling you that, nah, you're not there yet. In fact, you shouldn't have even began climbing this mountain. In fact, why don't you just sit there and we're going to continue to teach you, and we'll tell you when you're ready. But like, that's the most man thing I've ever heard, like, because you know, being masculine is not waiting for somebody to make you masculine. Being masculine is simply being masculine. You know, you can't. It's not a button you press. But where I came from, it felt like, you know, wait, we have to let you. We're going to press that wee button, and then as soon as we're ready, then you can do what you want to do. And you're like, bruh, doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna give another short example. I was on a walk with a friend, Mark Wilson.
Woo!
Years ago. Well, maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago. 3?
He is in Liverpool now.
Who knows? Oh, don't know that. Very close friends. That's guys for you, literally.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Oh,
no, before this, I'm gonna give a better example. I was talking.
Oh, you've told me this. Yeah.
You know where it's going somewhere.
Yeah, literally.
I was working on a building site, and this guy's brother of the guy's house lived next to it. He was driving about in a old tractor most days, doing farm stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, and just like we didn't really talk much. Not in a bad thing, just like we just didn't talk much. And then I was listening to music, and he's like, "Oh, what you listen to?" I was like, "Dire Straits." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because it was like, I'm a young guy, he's an older guy. He's like, he didn't expect me to listen to older guy stuff.
Yeah, that's just so good.
And that was, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." That was pretty much it. And then 2 years later, I'm building the house next to that house that's for his other brother or cousin or something.
Yeah.
And we just continued that conversation.
It's like, Dire Straits, Josh.
He's like, so you're still listening to Dire Straits? No. He said, how you could someone like you listen to Dire Straits? That's right. 2 years. Like, I think he was like,
that's just guys. Though.
That's guys.
It's just guys. Really. I had a conversation with my girlfriend about this, right? And like, you know, she's always like, she's always checking in on her friends, and our friends are checking in on her constantly, you know. And then like they get really worried that it's like, oh, flipping girl A, B, or C haven't talked to me in a few days, and they've left me on red. I don't know what to do. I have a good friend, right? Lives down the road. Oshin, right? Probably my best friend. One of my best friends. And like, I haven't spoken to him like at all the past 2 months. But I know for a fact that if I send him a wee text, like, he'll be more than happy enough to give it a wee listen and we just talk about it. I'd tell him to go for a walk, and it's like instantaneous, right? And I told that to my girlfriend, and she was like, when's the last time you spoke to Oshin? And I went, I don't know, a month ago. And she was like, no, what? Ben! How could you text him now? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, it's a bit weird. I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
You know, guys, if we have nothing to say, we'll just not speak.
But that like 2-month example was that's a very common occurrence.
Yeah.
But my example was just like the extreme.
It's 2 years, and then next thing you know, they're straight. Oh yeah. Mad, like.
I'll continue this example. As I was on a walk with Mark around my house, my territory, as I call it, young land territory. And he littered. I just looked at him. I was like,
"You punch
you
him.
need to pick that litter up. This is my land here."
Young country.
And he refused because he's Mark or Wilson, obviously. So I pushed him into a ditch and made him pick it up.
Guys.
And I just was this a bad thing? I can tell you, no one could convince me of this. Was it peaceful?
No.
Not entirely. Like a game of rugby isn't entirely peaceful.
Absolutely.
But I do believe it was righteous. When I think back to it, I get a feeling. I get the feeling you feel when you see a man do something truly masculine, and for that, I cannot apologize.
I am truly masculine. I have put
For it was no wrong, but good. Definitely not clean, just like his trousers weren't clean after he stood up. Not institution friendly to say the least, but good and proper masculinity, no less.
Yeah.
So why am I doing this episode? This is a call for men to stand up and channel that masculine fire. I know you have.
Oh man.
However obscured it may be, to channel it towards godliness. Is there something your minister said you disagree with or don't understand? Challenge him in love and showing respect, recognizing his authority, but be no pushover. Is there an injustice being done? Stand up and make known the issue, and not just stop there, but go fix it yourself, and don't be a pissy. And as fitting with the theme, I would like to not apologise for the indelicate language.
Here, that fire that you're talking about, this is incredible. Like last night, right? I was talking to one of my really good friends. He was here till like 1, and I was just talking to him about just obviously what it's like to be a Christian guy in society. And I was telling him, guys just have a fire inside their heart or soul. That
It is a fire.
It is
I don't know how to
like,
explain
it,
otherwise.
Like, and if you right, and if you channel it towards God, if you are trained up in the ways of Christ, right? If you live in a planet of darkness and you light a candle, it's pretty easy to find that candle. You know, it may take time, but you know, you will be able to see it from very, very far off, and you'll be like, oh flip, that's new. But if you live in a planet of light, and I told you, where's the dark? You'd never be able to find it. Because light casts out dark. Like dark, you only realize something's dark when the light is next to it, right? But if the light is full, dark can't exist. It's the one thing, I think, where there's an imbalance. Light casts out perfect dark. Like, perfect light casts out darkness. That is a verse in the Bible. So I was talking to him about this, and I went, well, what creates a fire within a man? I suppose how I thought about it is, what would be the one thing that would destroy a man? And I was thinking about this, and I was like, if you make a man a father to every sense of the word, to every bit of love he can muster, to make him the best father that he is to his family, And then to take away the reason he was a father, to take away that fatherly title. That's how you completely break a man. That's how you turn a man into a rabid wolf. To take away the reason he's called father. So there's that fire, as I said. It consumes whatever it touches. Like, not in the sense of destruction, but in the sense of, like, spreading it.
Or sometimes a sense of destruction.
I mean, the majority of people who fight in wars, like, I mean, they're men, you know. Football, rugby, you know, yeah, girls play it, right? But, like, predominantly, the men's leagues are miles up above the women's leagues. But, you know, I'm not saying that, obviously, to be sexist or crap. I'm just saying that as a fact. But, like, this fire that you talk about, right? It's just... It is literally, as I said, a fire, and if you tune that, like, how I like to describe it, right? There's only 3 things that matters in this entire planet, and if you go out today listening to this podcast, I'd probably recommend these 3 things that you remember. The only 3 things that matter in this life, and that exist, are wolves, are sheepdogs, and sheep, right? Now, right, I'm going to just give you a wee scenario here, right? So you've got a farmer, okay? What's the most valuable thing to a farmer? A sheep or a sheepdog? It's a sheep, because the sheep is what generates his income. The sheep is what, you know, gets him his food on the table and, you know, gives him, you know, obviously if he's a shepherd, you know, you can't have a shepherd without sheep, so that's the reason he is, right? And then you've got wolves who bite the farmer, scratch the farmer, who howl in the night, keep him awake, who destroy the sheep, destroy his income. All right, they're destructive creatures. They spread their fleas to the sheep, to the sheepdogs, and all the sheepdogs. Then these tamed wolves, if you will, they protect the sheep. They protect the farmer. They share in the farmer's income. The farmer, you know, drops a slab of meat down for the sheepdogs as he eats his dinner by the fire.
Defeating death with death.
Now, defeat fire with fire. Man be man, that kind of idea. The only difference is one has been tamed, one has been trained. Because as I said...
One has been refined.
One has been refined, exactly. So, what is the sheep, Josh? What do you think the sheep is?
Well, I don't think there's one answer. But, you were saying earlier, it's the thing. Well, I think it's the thing that is to be protected.
So in the Bible, time and time again, Jesus is referred to as the Lamb of God. It's the sheep, as the sheep who is the final sacrifice. So he's a sheep. He's the reason we can be sheepdogs, because he's a sheep. He's the reason why God can generate an income. What does that mean? Have like Christian followers have sheepdogs. All right. Jesus is the one flock, is the one sheep lamb, or the one sheep flock. There we are. So that's what we're protecting. The name of Jesus Christ. That's the basic first step in being a sheepdog, to protect the sheep. It's just recognizing what the sheep is. But within every sheepdog, there's a wolf, right? And the wolf is destruction. The wolf, you know, as I said, bites God, bites the farmer, takes from him and claims it for their own, devours anything that even relates to them for their own personal gain, for their own, you know, they hunt to survive. They hunt the message, they hunt Jesus, they hunt the sheepdogs. They can sometimes convert sheepdogs. Can sheepdogs run off with them and end up being consumed and killed later on? But only the farmer can capture a wolf, tame a wolf, train a wolf to love itself and the farmer, to protect the sheep, to love the sheep. And it's really interesting how we live in a society where they say dull your fangs, dull your claws, you don't need to go in.
Harmlessness is a virtue.
Harmlessness, yeah. Like, being if you're a wolf, right, and you then become a sheepdog, I think your fangs are sharpened, your ears, your senses are heightened. You see farther. It's not just you see you see into people, you see into the hearts of men through this lens that God gives us, that perspective. That's the one thing that separates us from actual animals. If you're a fish, right, could you imagine if a fish thought it could think like God? You know, if a fish, right, is in a bowl, right, all it can perceive is what's ever in that bowl, right? So if it could think like God, it could perceive that, oh wow, I can manipulate, I can add water, I can take away water, I can put stones in my bowl, I can take away stones, I can actually fly, I can go outside the room that the bowl is in, I can manipulate the room. That's what would happen if I was God, but I'm just a fish. Human beings, right, we're just, not in an evolutionary way, but like, say we are sort of fish, right? We are fish, right? In a sense of, but it's different because we have that God complex, right? We can imagine ourselves being different. We can zoom out and take our lives and manipulate them and change them and add things and take away things, and sort of, it's like shuffling a deck of cards, you know, to any sort of way you want, any sort of power you want. The possibilities are endless, right? So that perspective is what separates us, right? That God image of God that we have, and that's the most important thing about being a wolf, or not a wolf, a sheepdog. It's because we can perceive more. That's what I mean by heightening our senses. We perceive more with the fire inside of us. We are still a canine. We still have the same skills, the same things that make us a wolf, but we use it for family. We use it for our faith. So what's the three main things I think that keeps a person going? Family, faith, and mentality. All right, so I've talked about faith, right? Faith is a sheep, and, you know, train yourself up in the faith, you know, read the Bible, listen to podcasts, blah, 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 right? So that's faith, all right? Probably the most important thing is faith, right? Then the second most important is family. Now, family is not just you being a kid and growing up in that, because it's sort of this nurture against nature kind of thing, right? If you're a guy, right, your nature is, as I said, that flame. Your nature is the wolf.
Yeah.
But your nurture, how you're brought up, that's the sheepdog, you know? So there's that then. And then once you have your own family, once you have pups of your own, you know, that then increases the fire inside you. You then will have more of a reason to target your faith, put the faith into your children. Bring up your children as sheepdogs. Bring up your children to protect the sheep. To put everything you have, to put every fiber of your being. Like the name sheepdog, it wouldn't exist without the sheep. So the name Christian wouldn't exist without Christ. You know, it's so interconnected and so perfect.
In ancient times, when the Vikings were, or the barbarians, I guess, that ruled sort of the western side of the known universe. So I guess up north, the Vikings, as well as like the refined civilization of England and Britain and stuff. Before Christianity came, they were just barbarians, and only after Christianity did you get the idea of the noble knight that sacrifices himself for the weak, for the needy and the orphan. It's this refining of the beast,
this forging of a sword.
I've got something I want to get to. I'll give a few more examples, and then I'll get to this example, then we can see what we can talk about. For the greatest male bonds I have had with other men and boys have came not through clean, polite obedience, but through messy, physical, and opposing such questioning behaviour. Is this a sin? Is this inconsiderate behaviour? Is this the proper way to love? To that I say, with certainty, I have the greatest love and respect for my brothers, who I have, quote, made life hell for. A good example would be my computing teacher in school. He was very crude with us, boys. He made jokes at our expense. He didn't back down to our opposition, and even threw pens at us when we made fun of him or were just being plain stupid. We pulled pranks on him all the time, and he returned the favor. Is this unrighteous? By no means, for this teacher is the teacher whom I held at the highest respect and had great love for. So this is an encouragement for men to act like men, for the glory of God, for men and women to realize the immense differences in nature they have, and to recognize and have a great indescribable love for each other, and the differences they do have, and how that allows God to be glorified more effectively, not less. This is also for those in leadership to recognize true masculine godliness, and instead of dismissing it, call for it, encourage it, sow the seeds for it, refine it through proper discipline. Like a piece of metal is sharpened into a sword, so is even more effective, and not less so. This is for the godly men to lead your younger brothers in Christ, in the way of godly manliness, not through intellectual words, but through trial and discomfort, through real action, with real physical touch. For theories have no power, and cannot persuade easily in themselves, but through action can someone be moulded. Amen, and glory to God. When I say it's a fire, it's like you get the sense of, if this was oriented correctly, nothing could stop it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, no, 100%. As I said earlier about how to make a man grow wild, is to take the reason why he is a fire away, to make the fire go out of hand. Like, there's nothing could, like, you have a bunch of movies about this, you know, or like a soldier, right? His family are all like murdered or something, and then he goes against his government and his back. Like, it's this raw, manly fire that literally nothing can stop it until he burns out. Nothing can stop it until the reason why he's targeted against it is consumed.
For example, just to show the difference between men and women, just quickly, the novels that men find engaging are heroic novels. Okay, of the hero who goes off to conquer and just defeat the dragon and win the virgin in the tower. The stories women find engaging are stories focused on the relationship with a man
After the dragon.
Like, think wherever Twilight, the whole story is taming the beast. Women find that very intriguing. They find this beast of a man and they want to tame it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole bad boy paradox, you know, why girls like bad boys, because they feel like they can be a good effect in their lives.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Whereas
that's what women do. They tame men.
It says in the Bible. So I talk about men being sheepdogs, Jesus being the sheep, and God being the farmer, and the tame and the hunter and everything like that. The trapper, I should say, not hunter. Well then, what are women? All right, women are, like, you can be a sheepdog as well, like in the sense of Christianity. But Jesus says, "You are my brothers, my sisters, and my mothers." He calls all men are Jesus' brothers. That's what he says. Men who believe in him. But then he calls women his sisters and his mothers, not his daughters, his mothers. Jesus had a sense of, and look at all the people he visited. Look at Mary Magdalene's house, with the two sisters there. Like, Jesus was, in every sense of the word, behaved in a way that was son-like to older women, to the hospitality that he showed, that they showed to him. So in that, my metaphor, in my picture of a farm, what are women? Women are the entirety why sheepdogs hunt wolves or protect sheep. Women are the reason, are the sort of like a glue that binds it all together. Because as I said about a family, right? If you take away, I keep saying, take away a reason for the father to be a father, he will go mental. So it's literally like the prime, it's like the fuel that keeps that. We talk about fire. The fuel is our lives, our families, our loved ones.
If
faith.
women did not play their role, there would be no the taming of men.
There would only be wolves. Yeah, like, yeah, that's profound actually. If women weren't designed to be in this it's designed to be. I'm just going to say to be. I'm not going to say anything because I don't believe I have the right to say what you're all meant to be. But God has this thing that you're meant to be. So to be that, right? And for men to be what we've already discussed. That is perfect harmony. That's how men are tamed, and that's how families are created and brought up through love. You know, and you were talking about the knights there. What I thought was really interesting, you look at the samurai in feudal Japan. No, that was like one of the last places Christianity was brought to, and when it was brought to, a few years later, it made it extinct again. The samurai code Bushido is so profound: honor, family, truth, honesty. You know, it's a code of 7. I can't remember them all though, but like that is so like masculine, and like it is biblical because it's human. Like this is something that people don't quite understand. The biblical story is the human story. It doesn't matter what culture you come from, what heritage you have the same human story as everybody else. You still have the dragons to overcome. You still have a sense of honor, a sense of morality, a sense of family that the Bible talks about, and it makes sense of. It all adds up together. Like we add ourselves to the Bible, to create a sheepdog. Essentially, that's that taming process. Anybody can be a flipping sheepdog. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what kind of wolf you wear. An Alaskan wolf, a Siberian wolf, a fox, any sort of predator can be tamed to be a sheepdog. Only by
bring
the
up
Bible.
that passage I told you to look up.
Yeah, so
also to talk about the opposite female approach is how is also good. Read on.
Yeah, so this is just First Peter chapter 3. Wives and husbands, 1 to 7. Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives. When they see your respectful and pure conduct, do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear, but let your adoring be the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is in God's sight is very, very precious. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, and you are her children, if you do good and do not fear anything that is frightening. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered.
Show honor to the women as the weaker vessel.
That is controversial, but
let me explain.
Yeah.
So, show honor to the weaker vessel. A woman is the crown of a man. She's the flower on top of the mountain. She is the priceless vase to a sledgehammer. As in, I watched a video. I think it was Doug Wilson's as well. No, it was Pastor John. Yeah, Jim all over the place. He was talking about that passage, and it was a sledgehammer is obviously stronger than a priceless vase, but it's by no way more valuable. And when you lift a priceless vase from one shelf to another, you show delicate care. You're elevating its honor by your attention you're showing to it. Like a sledgehammer, I can chuck across the room, and I'm not having care for the sledgehammer. I'm gonna like care for what I hit with it. Like, I don't know, where am I gonna put this? I'm gonna destroy something. This is what I mean. It is good that a wife urge the husband not to go to war. However, it is the man's duty to go to war.
It's the reason he'll come back and fight.
And like, for example, your girlfriend's gonna get annoyed at me because I'm gonna briefly mention her. One episode we made fun of our friend Kelsey, and your girlfriend got annoyed at that. That is good that she got annoyed at that.
Yes.
I'm glad that she got out of that. That's what she's for.
Pure, yeah.
It's good that she got out of that. I'm not putting that down, but you know, the man must go to war.
Man must go to war, like. Yeah.
She's gonna hit me.
Yep. But actually,
I think we should wrap up.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. We'll probably have more to say on this topic because, as I said,
because that was the first chapter. It wasn't even on Moses' birth. It was the fact that his brethren were being killed.
Right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a wee like, comment, and subscribe. Do send us a wee message. We love to get them. We love to have a chat. And if you do want to, meet up or whatever, honestly, we are just a wee DM away. Follow us on Accessory to Thought on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.